Hi, my name is Vincent Smith, and I would like to just air a few of my points of view on the Martin and Zimmerman case, as seen from a father of a 17-year-old son who's currently in high school and currently plays football. I also have a nephew who's approximately 18 years old and played basketball. I'm just recording the facts as I see them, but not so much the facts, but so much as the facts as I know them, to just clear my mind, because I have not been able to sleep since this whole thing has happened. Every time my son leaves the house, I'm just in fear of what could happen to him. Now, these are the facts as I understand them. Zimmerman was acting in the capacity of a neighborhood watch supervisor, coordinator, or whatever. He was acting in the capacity of a neighborhood watch. As I understand this, if you act in the capacity of a neighborhood watch, you shouldn't be armed to keep from happening what happened in this case. If you are armed, you are more likely to act in the capacity of a police officer or a law enforcement official, which is not your job as a neighborhood watch person. You have neither the training nor the knowledge of the law to enforce the law. You can only report what you see as suspicious activity as you suspect it to be, and allow for law enforcement officials to arrive on the scene to make a professional assessment of what's going on. Now, by the same token, I have kids, and I'm pretty sure anyone out there who has kids would agree that you teach your kids, if you're being followed by a stranger, try to get away. If you cannot get away, under no circumstances do you let the stranger get the upper hand on you. Kick, scream, beat, do all the things that you're taught in school by your teachers and by your parents, which would seem to be what was happening this night, but nobody seems to bring that up, because to bring that up would mean that Trayvon Martin had a God-given right to defend his own self, not just Zimmerman had a right to defend his life once the fight ensued. These are the basic things. My son has been taught the same thing. If you cannot get away, or if this person just will not let you get away, you're going to have to kick, scream, bite, do whatever it takes to stay alive or to win. If Trayvon Martin had been armed, he'd be alive today, because he would have shot Zimmerman, and he would have had a right to do so. By Zimmerman's own admission, by the 911 tape, he stalked the young man. And if you can look up stalk in the dictionary, and it will say he stalked the young man. Zimmerman was not in a marked car. He was in his own personal vehicle, which does not say security, which does not lead any credence to the fact that this man is acting in some professional capacity. Zimmerman was not wearing a uniform, which would add that he's acting in some professional capacity. So how is a 17-year-old boy supposed to discern that Zimmerman, who's following him, has a right to follow him, as per most news people, as per the right-wing news media would have you think? Zimmerman had a right to follow him. It's not against the law to follow somebody. Well, see how those people feel if somebody's following their child, and then goes, I have a right to follow your child. They're not going to be happy with that. Now, this is how I understand the outline of events. Zimmerman sees this child, this boy, let's say young man for Zimmerman's point of view. He sees a young man with a hood over his head. Never mind, Zimmerman is not even thinking about it's raining. I mean, why would he have a hoodie on and not have it over his head? As a trained soldier, I would say a person walking around in the rain who has a hoodie on the back of their shirt and don't have the hoodie over their head, that's strange to me. I would be like, okay, this person does not care about getting wet. That is strange. But he has a hoodie over his head. Now, Zimmerman's call to 911 has a very precise clock on it. His cell phone clock, which is kept by a cell tower, which should be tracking satellite time, not to mention the 911 recorder should be tracking some type of satellite time, so they should be within a couple of seconds of each other matching time. I bring this up because everybody wants to make light of the fact that he was talking to his girl on the phone, and the right-wingers want to say, well, that doesn't mean anything. We don't even know if he was talking to her, or we can't substantiate what she's saying, so that should be inadmissible. I'll tell you this. If your child had disappeared on the street and the only thing they found was a cell phone, the police is going to activate that cell phone and find out who was the last person they was talking to, and they're going to run their ass to that house, and they're going to figure out what went on. They're going to try their best to figure out what went on. And nobody's going to care that you could only hear what's going on. They're going to say that is admissible in court. Because if anything you heard leads to who took him, that's admissible in court, because they're going to be able to get a search warrant with that. You'll be able to go and say, okay, well, we got a cell phone. He screams out, Johnny Smith is taking me in his car. They're going to go find Johnny Smith. They're going to get a search warrant to go search Johnny Smith's house. I say that to go back to this. All his cell phone is tracking cell tower, which is satellite time too. So you can match these calls. You can stipulate without a doubt that he was on the phone at the exact same time Zimmerman was on the phone. Now, Zimmerman's case is that he seen the boy with his hands in his pocket and a hoodie on. Now, if you pull the phone records and you find out that at the exact same time Zimmerman is calling them, the boy's on the phone with his girlfriend, that means that Zimmerman lied to begin with, because the boy would have had to have one hand up to his ear, unless he's going to say he was talking on speakerphone walking in the rain. So that would mean his phone is wet. And then that would mean that if you ever talk to somebody that has a speakerphone in the rain, you can't hear nothing they saying, because every time the rain drops, it's anywhere near one of them microphones, you ain't hearing nothing but that echoed 1,000 times over. So if the boy was talking to his girlfriend, as the family claims, that's easy enough to find out. Now, I say that to go back to the fact that they're saying you can't corroborate what she said. Well, if Zimmerman is on tape going, I'm observing this boy walking, I'm following him, and the girl can show that she was on the phone at the exact same time as Zimmerman was talking to 911, and she's going, well, he was saying somebody was following him, that substantiates that. Now, I say that to say this. That gives you an insight into what the boy is thinking. They don't want you to have an insight into what he's thinking. They want you to have an insight into Zimmerman's right to self-preservation, and that only. Nothing else matters but Zimmerman's right to self-preservation. Well, that's true. But if you're following someone who's been told his whole time through school, be fearful of people following you, be fearful of people trying to get you to go with them, be fearful of people that when you change direction, they change direction with you, or when you think you've lost them and get back on the street, here they are again in a car behind you. Now, that's what all our kids are taught in school. And they're also taught, I say again, that if this happens and you can't get away from this person, you need to fight, kick, scream, do whatever it takes to, one, get away from him, and two, draw people to the scene. So now, if they were both talking on the phone at the same time, and Zimmerman says he's following the suspect, and Trayvon Martin's girlfriend says he told me somebody was following him, okay, then we can establish that as a fact, that he was following him, and Trayvon Martin had no knowledge of why he was being followed or by whom. It was not in a professional car, a marked car, and he was not in uniform. So now he says he lost sight of Trayvon Martin. Trayvon Martin's girlfriend said he fled from him. So we can say that's basically fact. They mirror each other. It's just two different sides of what they're saying. One guy saying he ran from me. The girl is saying I told him, or he said he was running. At some point, Zimmerman gets out his SUV. If Zimmerman is acting in the capacity of a night watchman and he's following the kid, which he shouldn't be doing after the police told him, we don't need you to do that, why did Zimmerman get out his car? Zimmerman could have pulled up, rolled down the window, and asked the kid what he was doing there. Zimmerman chose to get out of something that was a barrier between him and his so-called assailant. He chose to get out of something that was a barrier and then walk up. Why did he choose to do that? In my mind, he knew he had a weapon. The weapon made him more brazen. He was braver with the weapon. So, at some point, either he runs, Zimmerman loses sight of him. At some point, they regain sight of each other. Now, at this point, when they regain sight of each other, Zimmerman claims he was jumped. Well, why was Zimmerman out the vehicle if, like he said, he was told to cease and desist? Or we don't need you to do that. Now, at this point, Any reasonable human being that tells the truth without looking at it through the eyes of whatever side they're on would say you would rather your son err on the side of fighting somebody he think is trying to do him harm, which is his God-given right. As the law states, I have a reasonable assumption that this dude that's following me, that won't stop following me, that ain't wearing no uniform, means to do me harm. Now, Trayvon Martin had that right. Zimmerman, once he was told not to follow this kid, was the aggressor. Once he got out his vehicle, which he did not have to do to keep an eye on his kid, he became the aggressor. He had the means to end the kid's life to begin with, which makes him the aggressor. The only reason Trayvon Martin is dead is because Trayvon Martin did not have a weapon. And if anybody takes anything from this, that should be the primary thing you take from this if this case goes south. This has nothing to do, in my mind, the law itself is not racist. The law is not racist. The people that may be acting upon it may be racist, but the law itself is not racist. It's not meant. Now, it may be employed, it may be used, it may be skewed to the side that wants to use it, but it's not. Zimmerman became the aggressor, in my opinion, the moment he was told not to follow this kid. He became the aggressor again the moment he got out of his vehicle, whether that was before or after he was told not to follow this kid. He became the aggressor a third time when he got out said vehicle with a weapon that could kill this kid. And in closing, I'm going to say this. Zimmerman outweighed that kid by anywhere from what? From what I understand it to be, anywhere from 60 to maybe 100 pounds. I outweigh my son by 60 pounds. My son is a football player. He lifts weights. He can squat 350 pounds. As a person trained in combatives, I can tell you this. Strength means something. Strength does not mean much when you're trying to hold somebody down. At some point, you need weight. If you do not have the weight, you can only apply strength at the point in which you make contact. And if you don't have the weight, you can't sit on me and keep me down. You just don't have the weight. You can't hold me down because you don't have the weight to get 3 points of contact. You can either hold both my hands, in whichever case I can thrust my hips because you don't have the weight to hold me down, or if I'm on my stomach, you can hold both my hands. I can bring my legs up and thrust you off. It doesn't matter. You don't have the weight to hold me down. That doesn't rhyme. It doesn't go together. And as a father who has a 17-year-old son, I could not sleep when this happened because nothing in this case made sense. Nothing. Nothing at all. And that is the outrage. And I would like to say all views herein are my personal views and nothing more, nothing less. I'm just venting my personal views about what I seen happen. And if anybody ever watches this, thank you. If you don't, no harm, no foul. I just wanted to air these grievances as a father of a 17-year-old and the uncle of an 18-year-old. My name is Vincent Smith. Thank you very much.